So once you know how sausage is made, then all you want to do is keep making sausage. It's just really fun.
Yeah, that is what they say. Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Hi, my name is Willows,
And my name is not.
and welcome to the podcast that is called "I'll Call Beyond This Point" podcast. Um, this is episode 85, and today we are
Going to
alive.
drink. Yeah,
I was a poet, and I didn't even know that I was one.
Jesus. So we're pretty far behind on posting episodes because
I am. I have. Yeah. I have 2 months of episodes stacked up. I keep being like, oh, I'll have time on Wednesday. Oh, I'll have time on Monday. Oh, I'll have time on whenever to edit them. And then I wake up and it's been a week and I'm like, Jesus Christ, where's my fucking time going? I
Yeah.
am very overwhelmed with work right now. I just fired somebody and I'm understaffed. And my harvest is going to be larger than it's ever been. That's coming up in like 4 days.
to be fair, didn't you fire somebody like 2 days before they were leaving?
No. And we just got a canning line, which is we bought a piece of equipment that requires a lot of our time in our busiest time.
Perfect.
Perfect. And we rushed it to hit a deadline, and we didn't even end up hitting the deadline.
Or yeah, fantastic.
Yeah. So
Did you pay a bunch of extra money to rush it?
no, I wouldn't say a bunch. We probably wasted a few $1,000s. More than 3, less than 10.
I'm gonna say somebody might call it a bunch.
Yeah, it's fine. it is what it is. It's
How much did the extra rush actually knock off time wise?
we just couldn't have gotten it faster.
Yeah.
Like it just from the time everything took, we just couldn't have done it any faster. So for context, we had a music festival. We were supposed to supply our new collab iced tea, which we're drinking right today. The Wild Berry Hard Iced Tea, available at shrug.com. That's shrugdoc.com. Canada-wide shipping. So we had a music festival hosted by the company that we're collabing with here, Wilden, and it was this Saturday, or it's this Saturday coming up, so it's in 3 days, and they were going to buy $30,000 worth of these cans wholesale.
Yeah.
And so that would have been a nice payday, but it's in a different province. It's in Alberta, and we had to deal with their liquor board, and we had to deal with shipping, and then like we only got the funding to buy this thing like a month ago.
Yeah.
Like maybe, and then we had to wire it and plumb it and all this shit, this big piece of equipment, and then Zach had to take like 3 days to train on it with like a professional, and it was like a whole thing. And we could have hit it, the deadline, but then the government, as the government does, steps in the way, and we had all the that's the most frustrating part, is that I had all the cans ready.
Yeah.
5 pallets of cans, 10,000 of them are sitting in my warehouse right now, ready to go. And it was the other logistics that fucked up, and we couldn't get it. So, missed out on it. It is what it is. But I'm more worried about hurting the relationship with the people that were not like Wildem, but the people that were actually hosting the festival.
Yeah.
I'm worried because that was kind of the deal. They were like, oh, if it sells well, we'll bring it in our restaurants and stuff. I won't say the chain, but it's pretty big out there. And that was kind of part of the deal, was that this was a proof of concept.
Yeah.
And now we don't have that.
Mm.
So that's what I'm kind of bummed about.
Big monkey wrench.
Yeah. So, but it is what it is. It's, I couldn't have, given the same tools, I couldn't have made better decisions. I made exactly the decisions I needed to make, but the timeline was too constrained.
Yeah, so the logistics fell apart on their end, not just on the liquor delivery though, right?
I can't go into it, but
it wasn't just the festival didn't get canceled because your cans didn't get delivered.
No. They're still going ahead with it. It's on Saturday. I just couldn't my product's not going to be there.
Oh, okay.
It's now going to be like Molson cider, seltzer, or whatever instead, which is fine. But yeah, it wasn't just my fuck up. There was some other stuff, but like it is what it is. I tweeted this a couple days ago from my my stock trading Twitter. Follow it, Bullish Willows. But or no, Willows is bullish. One of those things. I think it's Bullish Willows.
I think it's Bullish Willows.
One of the harsh realities of business is that sometimes you try your best and you still fail.
Yeah.
And there's nothing. I always quote Dwight Schrute saying, "There's not always a lesson, Ryan. Sometimes you just fail."
True.
Like, so.
Thanks, Dwight.
It is what it is. I don't take L's very often, and it's not like this is a humongous L. Like, they ordered 5 pallets for this festival. Obviously, we're not selling it to them anymore, so. I've already sold 2 of those pallets of those 5.
Yeah.
Now, because I was holding them for this, and other people in this province wanted them. So as soon as we knew we weren't going to hit it, I'm like, oh, okay, fuck it, I can sell them here. So I've already sold, like 4,000 cans of that. So.
Could be worse.
Could be worse. Yeah, I don't know. The day in the life. You know, it kind of like, I've heard. So, it's always a foreign concept when I explain this to Americans, and a lot of our listeners are Americans, but the liquor monopoly here in Manitoba, right, is like government owned and everything, and it's really hard to work with. And I've always heard that Alberta, which is the province we were selling to, is the Wild West. I hear that thrown out a lot.
Yeah.
And I've learned through going through this process that they're just as fucking regulated as we are. It's just a different system.
Yeah.
You still got to sell through the government, but it's like they have like a private company that warehouses it.
Okay.
But you can't ship direct. Like, you can't, because I figured you could just ship direct and like get my own courier, ship direct, and then just pay the levy. Like, just pay the per liter surcharge or whatever they want. But no, you got to sell through their proper channels. And I'm like, how is this different than fucking MBLL?
Yeah, that's hard to wrap my head around. It's like, what is I guess it's a control issue. Like, they don't want to trust an honor system, but I mean, like, they can audit sales and stuff. There's ways to monitor these things. They don't need to be physically processing stuff anymore. That doesn't have to happen. That doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess they're worried about like you were like smugglers or whatever. Like,
could do that anyways. Just because there's a legal channel doesn't mean that people doing it illegal are gonna stop doing it
I guess
illegally.
like, how are you gonna sell these things if you're bringing it in illegally, not through a store or not through the warehouse? It's like a retailer still has to sell it.
Yeah.
And you can that's pretty fucking easy. How did you get all this pallets of fucking drinks? You didn't order this through us. Like, that's a pretty fucking easy.
Yeah,
right? Like,
I don't know. It's one of those things. It's like, just because you make the policy doesn't mean the laws are going to stop getting broken. The people that are going to subvert the system are going to subvert the system.
Yeah, I guess the Wild West, in quotations, that they're talking about is more on the retail side. Like, you can kind of just open a liquor store,
right? Which
you can't in Manitoba.
Which makes a big difference, I guess, to the end consumer. But
yeah, so I guess it's a lot of it's a different look to the consumer. But now that I've gone through the system and like set myself up as an agent and everything, it's like, this isn't. I said this to our partner here in Wilden, and we were lamenting about this not working out, and I said, I just kind of laughed, and I was like, you know what, honestly, it's kind of comforting that they're just as bad as Manitoba Liquor and Lotteries.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I have a handle on this province's liquor board.
Right.
So I'm like, I think I can make it work there.
Which is more of the same bullshit.
Exactly. So it's like, I feel it's not something new I need to learn.
Yeah.
It's like just more of the same. And it's like, I guess people are the same and governments are the same everywhere, right? Like, it is
more or
what
less,
it is.
yeah.
Like, so yeah, I mean, you got to learn the nuance and stuff. Like, I didn't know how the wholesale pricing works. I didn't know how the shipping worked, like all that shit. But like, once you learn the nuance, it's like they want their money and they don't care about you, and that's that's period, right?
Yeah, I was an opportunity today to reach out to a new type of client for us, which is a like mass producing builder. And when I say mass producing, I mean they currently today have almost 140 construction sites of houses being actively built at the same time, which is a shitload. And so I was doing the personal house of the owner of that company, which is pretty cool. And yeah, we got called in, I guess, by reference from the manufacturer, and he's like, yeah, I really love this product. He's like, but we'd like to adopt something like this into our production line, but because they have like a kind of like a luxury line that's about 10% of their volume, and he's like, we'd love to do this in some of our luxury homes, and maybe even like more widely with like fireplaces and entertainment units, stuff like that. He's like, because the brick and the stone is kind of getting tired. Like when you walk through like a parade of homes or a show home, they all look the fucking same. Like there's nothing new. They're all boring. They all look kind of whatever, like meh, mediocre. And he's like, it'd be something that would set them apart, right? So he's like, yeah, I just hate the lead time because you had to wait 4 months for this product. And he's like, we can't afford to wait that long. We move way faster than that. So I'm like, oh, well, we can source these other products. I'm like, we actually directly distribute a number of things that would be like an equivalent and would actually probably be cheaper as well. Something more affordable, because obviously he's very interested in margins on every fucking thing. And then he's like, well, you guys are one of the most expensive tile crews we ever hired. And I was like, yeah, well, I'm like, but we're specialists. I'm like, and if you're talking about like, he was saying like 25 houses a year, potentially doing like, a couple parts of the house in just a specific product. And I'm like, well, if we can talk about volume, I'm like, we can talk about discounts, but yeah, like we can definitely source something that kind of suits your needs. And he was like, oh, that's interesting. He's like, I should like talk to my designers and stuff. And I'm like, that'd be fucking awesome, because that's like potentially, if we could close that guy, even just doing kind of the bare minimum, if he gave us even half of his properties, it'd be an extra, it's like 60,000 to 100,000 a year off of that guy. And that'd be sweet, because then I could consistently get into this niche that I want to get into. And then the best part about it is now you're getting a product introduced into a market, because they're kind of like a leading edge, right? Whatever people see in the show homes is what they want to start buying. He's like, whatever we give them is what they want to buy. And if we like show them something new, it becomes the new standard that they ask for. So if you start doing this, you're going to force other builders and other, wider mainstream to adopt this kind of thing. And if others start trying to do it to catch up because they have this thing that they're not doing that the other guys are doing that looks better, now you start getting wider adoption. And in a niche that I'm very specifically trying to be a specialist in, that's fantastic, because if we can kind of like get our name in there and even pick up half that fucking business, that's hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, which would be sick. And it's my favorite type of work to do as well, which is awesome. So yeah, it was a very good day.
It's kind of like the your neighbor gets a new car, so you want to get a new car.
Yeah, it's a style trend. That's what it is. It's a big style trend. It's not significantly more expensive, but on the install, it is a little bit more. So it is a premium product, but even though it's ugly, like if you look at like brick and stone on houses and it just kind of looks basic and normal and cookie cutter, that shit is expensive. Like bricklayers and stonemasons make a 50% premium over what we get paid. Just automatic. Even though their stuff looks like shit, they get paid 50% more.
Throwing shade against stonemasons.
Well, even if you're a talented stonemason, a lot of the products are very boring and just like kind of there's not a lot of imagination in the industry, at least in our city. I know in some places there's a lot of talented people doing crazy good shit, but
when you become a good architect, you move out of Winnipeg.
Not necessarily. We have good design here. It's just a lot of the trends, they just get like beaten to death. And then you go through these suburbs and every fucking house looks the same, and like, I don't know, everyone can relate to this. Suburbs especially are the worst because they change only when they absolutely have to.
Yeah.
And they're going to crank out stuff that's as similar as possible. Like, nothing drives me more crazy than these neighborhoods you drive through that are just like these big looking houses. They're all stucco. They're all grayish, brownish, taupey colors. They're all stucco. They all look pretty much exactly the same. They're the same profile. And if you go in them, even though they look big from the street, it's just because they're a little bit high. Like the properties are kind of built up, and the garage is pretty big on the front. But when you actually go inside of them, it's like, oh, this isn't a big house. Like, the size of the house you're living in now or smaller.
My place on Grassy.
Yeah.
Remember that? Like,
Yeah.
I always noted that, like, how narrow it was for how big it looked.
Yeah, exactly. There's like, that's definitely how it feels. And when you go look at show homes, it's very underwhelming. And it's just like, okay, this is the standard.
Reminds me of like a general store in like a old west town where they have like the fake
Yeah.
wood on the front to like
Yeah, the facade.
the facade. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um.
absolutely. We actually have a college in, we have a number of places in the city where they've preserved like the front of the building, like
Yeah,
just
yeah.
the front wall,
A ton of it.
and
Yeah.
built a new building behind it, and just like bolted the old wall to the new building, and it looks old from the front, but it's brand new. It's
As a
really,
heritage thing.
Yeah, it's really-
our city does that to preserve.
yeah, it's pretty cool. Like even
It
like
is cool.
parking garages and stuff look like old brick buildings, but they're brand new on the inside.
Yeah,
Pretty smart.
it is smart. Yeah, keeps the kind of theme of the neighborhood without like nobody fucking wants to work in a 150-year-old brick building, right? Like,
Yeah,
so,
but it looks nice.
but it looks nice. Yeah. So, and like that's a big problem with every time some developer buys a building and wants to tear it down, there's always people being like, you can't tear it down. It's like no one wants to live in it. Like, it's fucking filled with mold.
Yeah.
It's falling apart. Like, it's going to cost us double what we paid for it to fix it. Like, that happens constantly with that fucking mansion on Wellington that they tore down. And like, there's a hotel. Which hotel? Right downtown, right by the Burt. There's a hotel that's just vacant.
Yeah,
And they won't let the guy tear it down. So he's literally like, yeah, I'm going to let it fall apart until they condemn it and they have to tear it down.
yeah,
And then I'm going to build a new thing. And it's like, dude, just skip. And he's like, that's my intention. So can we just skip this fucking formality? Like, and just let me fix it instead of like,
Wait, the one by the Burt, like kitty corner across? That's like just
I think so. Or on the next that turns kind of weird because there's like two
Yeah.
streets coming right
Yeah,
to the
yeah.
corner on King.
like across from Town Cinema.
No, farther towards Portage.
Okay, I was gonna say the Town Cinema one.
Yeah.
Church of Scientology owns that,
Yeah.
and they're letting it just fall down because
Town Cinemas went out of business too.
Yeah,
Just this year.
Hmm.
Man, fucking downtown is not doing great.
I was gonna say Town in general has been on its way out for a decade.
This is a movie theater in Winnipeg that had like still as of COVID, like just before COVID when movies closed, obviously, they had like $3 movie nights
Yeah,
where everyone else is like $19.
and the odds of getting stabbed are not low.
Not nothing.
At least
During
it feels that way.
during the day, you're probably fine.
But that's the thing. It's late night movies. Nobody wants to park down there late night because your windows get smashed.
yeah, but it's like right, like the King's Head's right there.
But that's the
and
perception.
fucking-
Of
Yeah.
that corner. You know?
Yeah. It's kind of sketchy, but
Kind of. In another decade, it'll be fine.
or worse.
Or worse. Yeah.
We'll see who gets elected. We have a mayoral race happening right now.
Mm.
I'm not going to talk too much about
gonna say we should-
municipal
I
politics.
was gonna say we should deep dive into Winnipeg mayoral race.
because nobody gives a shit
It's
about.
super relevant.
But yeah, I'm. I don't know. You think this housing crash is going to happen?
Yep.
I'm poking it with a
Okay,
fucking
so
stick.
actually,
being like,
funny you mentioned that. Guy
go for it.
that I talked to today, who builds ungodly numbers of homes, says was saying, he's like, during COVID, he's like, we expected everything to crash,
But it went up.
and he's like, in reality, what happened? He's like, I couldn't, like, there's nothing I couldn't sell. He's like,
Yeah.
people were buying houses without seeing the price
Yeah.
or what was like within the four walls. They were just saying yes.
Well, literally,
And they were having, he said, people were signing open-ended contracts,
Yeah.
which means this could cost $250,000 plus no top end
Yeah. My friend, who's a real estate agent,
and no completion date.
was saying like they were selling houses before they got listed.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
People would just be calling them, being like, "What do you have for sale?" Like,
It's like, hey, would you like to? Yes, I'll buy it.
what a fucking weird time in our lives, eh? Like, that's never gonna happen again.
Yeah, no, I know. It's so. Anyways, he was saying it's. They expected a crash then, but obviously it's been crazy. He's like, but they're seeing a slowdown now.
Yeah.
He's like, things are really like grinding down, and he's like, it's probably going to be really hard until next. He said for us, it's gonna be really hard until next spring or summer.
Which is good for me because I want to buy a house.
Yeah, so that means he's probably going to like dial back his sales
Yeah.
because he's going to get
But-
overstock.
But the problem is he already has 120 houses being built right now.
Well, but he has to keep up that pace.
No, but I know. But then, like, but that's the problem with construction, though, is it takes,
Well,
however
a lot
long.
of these are pre-sold.
Sure. But in general, maybe not
Yeah.
this guy specifically, but, like, it takes a year from, like, inception to
Yeah.
finish.
At least, yeah.
So you're always a year behind what the market's doing, right? And if you're making all these houses for 2020 demand and then 2022 demand, and then 2023 comes around and demand's way lower, it's like you have, pre-sold obviously is a different story, but you have all these houses now that there's no demand for.
Yeah, I mean,
so then prices come down.
Yeah, prices.
In theory.
Yeah, prices definitely do come
in
down.
a macroeconomic sense, that's what would happen, but there's obviously more nuance.
Yeah.
Also, when the COVID shut down the entire country, stocks should have tanked.
Yeah.
And they went on the greatest bull run of all time for 18 months. So macroeconomics you can kind of throw out the window, I think, nowadays.
I think economics in general you can throw out the window.
Like things have gotten to a point where it's like past breaking, where it's just like not that we're in fucking uncharted territory now.
Everything's just being propped up.
I think buy the fucking yuan. Because Russia is fucking trading in yuan now, and
yen.
No, yen is Japanese.
Yuan?
Yeah, yuan. That's the Chinese currency.
Pretty sure that's yen.
No, yen is yen. That's Japanese.
Yuan sounds wrong.
Okay, well I don't. Yeah, I'm probably pronouncing it poorly. I don't know.
I'm gonna look this up. Keep talking.
Russia's doing a bunch of shit in Chinese currency now, so they're trying to destabilize the U.S. dollar as the dollar of the world. So that's fun.
Okay, we're gonna do this in real time. God, I hope this isn't long.
We are looking at how to pronounce correctly, or more correctly, the name of the official currency of China. It is often mispronounced or mistakenly pronounced as yuan, and it'd be easy to think, looking at the way it's spelled in our alphabet, that it should be pronounced yuan, but that's not correct, and it can actually be pronounced rather easily, better than this. So let's have a look into this. For a Chinese word, it's not actually very hard to get it right, so you might as well. First of all, it's not the sound U initially, as in Y-O-U. U, it's not correct in Chinese, but rather the sound is more like U, like the German U, and like the French U as well, if you know your French. U, rather than U, okay? Pretty straightforward. Secondly, it's not the sound an, as in an, or as in and, but rather an, as in en, like in the word and. Do you get it? An. An. Not you. An, but an.
N.
When.
When.
Pretty straightforward, right?
It's when. That's what it is. When.
Does that make sense?
Thanks,
I just
buddy.
said thanks.
When.
That's a when right there.
Wow.
I had to go in my.
That's really small.
I know you get that a lot. Got him. I went in my fire safe, which smells like chlorine for some reason. I don't know if you know the science behind that.
No.
The inside of my fire safe smells like chlorine.
What is the science behind that?
I don't. I assume like stale air because it's obviously airtight.
Strange.
I don't know, but I have a stack of foreign currency here. So I have a yuan. This is €1. This is Republic de Cuba. Cuba. This appears to be a Swiss franc. I have never seen that before in my life. I don't know why it's in my safe.
1 franc.
This is a 10 pence coin. I don't think they use that anymore in England, do they?
10 pence? Why not? That'd be like a dime.
I guess. Why is it so big?
I don't know. Why is the
Yuan so small?
yuan so small? It's very small. It's like the size of a dime.
I also have a bunch of Canadian Tire money in my safe. Because I just think it's funny if someone ever steals it.
Yeah.
Just like in my in the safe at my office, I have a drop safe for like my employees to put the cash, and it's like I take the cash out of it every couple of days to do deposits in the bank, like as I should.
Yeah.
So the only thing in there is we have some like documents that are like would be useless to a burglar.
Yeah.
But whatever. But I would be pissed if I lost in a fire. And then there's just a frog hat.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
From Dollarama. It's this hat that looks like a frog. And I have it positioned so that when you drop the money, it falls into the frog hat. And then there's a big fucking gold chain that's like fake.
Yeah.
Like plastic. Not even like fake gold, but like a costume.
Yeah.
That I woke up in after your fucking work party.
Oh,
and I don't remember anything.
Yeah.
And I woke up somehow here.
Pretty good.
In it.
Nice.
So I that's in the safe. So I hope like someone goes through a lot of fucking trouble to like break it out of the wall and steal it and then bring it home and spend hours trying to get it open, like fucking Spooge in Breaking Bad trying to get the ATM open.
Yeah.
And then it's a frog hat and a fake gold chain. like not even I want to stress this enough. Not a fake gold chain, but like a obviously fake
like Dollarama plastic chain
for children, like giant thick gold chain. Like,
and they're like, wow.
And then they come back and kill me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I got one more story as I pour these shots that just a non sequitur story.
You were saying something about the Chinese currency and then we went way off it.
It's fine. If it was that important, it'll come back to me. Is this good or not?
I don't know.
Okay.
You just opened it. I got it as a birthday present. I'm assuming it's probably pretty good. It looks like a good bottle. I think that's like a mid-shelf rye.
Well, I know Dylan's gin is fine.
Yeah, I think it's a mid-shelf rye.
So yesterday, or no, not yesterday.
It's very hard to talk while you're measuring.
Man, my since I had COVID, I think I legitimately have long COVID, like brain fog. I can't focus anymore.
That's just the vaccines. It's fine.
Word. I'm not vaccinated. Are you? Anyway,
the back alley guy we went to said he.
Yeah. I saw a bunch of people vaccinating under the bridge the other day.
Got a couple.
When I was bartending on Sunday, there was a large gentleman with face tattoos that decided to sit on the stoop of my wine bar and drink open alcohol on the street out of a 2-liter with his, I assume, lovely wife, and I assume his bicycle that he legally owns. And after they were sitting there for a while, I kind of went, like, I opened the door and I kind of poked my head out and I said, come on, guys, like, there's a stoop right beside us for another business that's closed. Like, do you think you can just move there, please? And I was very polite. And he told me to go fuck myself and go back inside. And I'm like, dude, I'm just trying to fucking run a business here. Like, come, give me a break. And then he's like, what, are you going to call the fucking cops? You going to call the fucking cops? Get the fuck back in the building. And then, so I went back in the building. And that's the end of my story.
Wow.
Yeah.
I feel like you should have gotten, like, a garden hose or something.
Yeah, I like jokingly grabbed the sledgehammer I keep under the bar, which it's become a running joke that there's a sledgehammer under the bar because it's a really bad weapon.
The worst.
For like pulling out of a like behind a bar. Like a bat, at least you can like swing quickly. Like this thing, like if my employees tried to lift up a sledgehammer to hit a fucking burglar,
Most of them probably couldn't get it over the counter.
They would fucking smash it right into the granite.
Yeah,
They'd
just break the
shatter the
granite.
granite everywhere. Like,
Yeah.
it'd make the situation way worse. But that's the joke.
They're like the cash box had less money in it than the counter.
Than the
source.
granite cost.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, but that's part of the joke is that it's
Yeah.
such a bad weapon that
Yeah.
it's like, that's why it's there. I think it's funny. But anyway, we're going to transition here into our part of the show that we call Shot Caller, the part of the show. Where you, the audience, can pick the shot that we take.
At this part of the show.
Of this part of the show. This episode is sponsored by the Beyond Van Gogh exhibit.
No, it's sponsored by Daryl.
Dylan?
Daryl. Or was it? No, sorry. John? John gave me this bottle. Thanks, John.
Oh, thanks, John, for sponsoring this episode.
You're a beauty and a real nice motherfucker. A little bit of burn. Not too bad.
Oh, what's that? So it burned on the front.
Mm-hmm.
But what's that back taste?
3 Oaks.
Wood?
It's literally called 3 Oaks.
Yeah, I like that.
It's very woody.
That right at the end.
Yeah.
I
Feels
like
like
that.
you're chewing on a 2x4.
I like that. It's
When did we decide that smoke and wood were good tastes? I guess it's kind of primal, burning wood and like smokiness in your food.
Do you think that's what it is?
That's pretty primal.
Do you think that's what it is? It's like caveman brain coming in?
Well, we've been cooking shit over burning wood for quite a while.
Well, as long as we've had a prefrontal cortex, basically, right? Like,
Yeah.
because that's what we figure made us the next step of evolution was that we could cook food, right?
Actually, it was drugs.
Well, sure. No, okay, certainly we were cooking food before we were taking psilocybin mushrooms.
No. Well, it depends if you believe in the stoned ape theory. But
Remember, we're talking about like a 200 million year gap of
they would have happened kind of concurrently.
Just kidding, 4,000 years.
Apes wouldn't have cooked their food, but in somewhere in that period, they would have started.
Yeah, I guess monkeys don't really cook their food.
No.
And
I just want to make vegans aware that if your eyes are on the front of your head, that means you're a natural-born predator.
yeah, so a Furby is a natural-born predator.
Yeah. And I just need you to remember that.
And if you're bipedal and featherless, then you're a man.
Yes.
So I love that quote. It's like a quote out of a textbook, but they put it on pictures of like cats walking on their hind legs. It's like bipedal, featherless, check. It's a man.
True. Kangaroo.
A kangaroo is a man. Oh no.
Kangaroo's better than man.
You what, mate? That was British. I was trying to do Australian.
I can't wait till-
I'm really bad at accents.
I know. You're also tone deaf.
Yeah.
A lot of people are tone deaf. Do you think tone deaf people make good podcasters?
You know what's interesting that I'm tone deaf, but I'm very emotive in my speech.
Yeah, that's
like
fair.
you wouldn't describe me as monotone ever.
No.
Right? I'm not Mitchell.
Fair.
I'm very
You're expressive.
explosive and expressive in my
Yeah.
speech.
You just can't hold the tune. Or
I guess like I'm not tone deaf. I just can't sing. I can hear music like I can identify.
tone deaf is specifically it's a if you're trying if you can emote, you can be whatever expressive in your voice. You could hit the notes. Your voice is capable, and when you're whatever speaking or laughing or talking or yelling, whatever, you'll do it naturally. But when you're trying to match a tone, or something like if you're trying to hit a note, and it's like a disconnect between what you hear and what you're putting out, you don't hit. Like, that's not synced up.
No, I can whistle a note though.
Hmm.
I used to have to do it when I played piano. When I took my piano lessons,
Yeah.
they would my teacher, once a month we'd have to do theory. And part of the theory was you'd have to sit with your back to the piano, and she would play a note, and I had to tell her what note it was.
Yeah.
And I can do that. And then more advanced is I would have to like hum or whistle a note.
Oh, so you're just terrible at singing.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Nice.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of people are tone deaf. It's a major thing.
Yeah. No, I'm just like, I've played instruments, so it's like I feel like I'm not tone deaf.
I think you can still play instruments. You're just hitting keys.
I played the French horn.
That's difficult.
Yeah.
So that's how that fetish started.
No comment, I guess?
Putting your hand in things?
Yeah, you had to go like this. In the bell of the French horn.
Why?
Something to do with vibrations.
Like I said.
I was the
You're proving my point.
I was not the worst French horn player in the band.
Was that a high bar?
No, there were 4 of us, and I was the second worst.
We didn't have a single French horn in our band, and we were pretty good.
I don't know why I picked the French horn. I think I thought it was funny.
It is kind of funny, yeah.
I did 1 year of band, and they kicked me out not because I was very bad, but because I was distracting in class. And then I took art the next year, and they kicked me out for the same reason, but it was because they put like 6 bad kids in the same class, which like at a certain point they learn, like when they're making schedules, to just not put kids together. Yeah. Right? So it was like me, Neubauer, Justin Corlett, Hashir, Mason Maricuso, like all in the same class, and they ran out of corners to put us in. Yeah. Like facing the corner, so they just ended up fucking kicking me out of the art class in grade 8. And then I took drama in grade 9, and that was like one of my favorite teachers.
Nice.
Yeah, shout out Mr. White.
So you're saying it was the teacher's fault?
Yeah, he I remember he saved me from getting expelled because he caught what happened before, or I don't know if it would have been an expulsion, but it was definitely a suspension on the table. I wrote a paper comparing the school district to Nazi Germany.
Nice.
Complete with like photoshopped Nazi insignias and stuff, and like handed it in. Yeah. As a project. And they said it was unacceptable. But between the teacher, the guidance counselor, before it got to management, principality, administration, there you go, that's the word I'm looking for, he took it and said, I'll deal with this, as his like, I guess he was like the guidance counselor for like the troubled kids. Yeah. Which I guess I was.
And they're like, oh no, this kid's gonna be a Nazi.
Yeah, so he was like,
or worse, an anti-fascist.
Yeah, so they were Nazis. I made a pretty compelling argument. I'll try to find the paper. But
please read it in its entirety.
I was just talking about like how they're super into like, you know, I was like, oh yeah, and I named, like, now I see why they were gonna expel me, because like I named the principal, put a picture of him. I'm like, yeah, it's like the Führer. You like you can't question his decisions. Like he scares everyone in line. Like, you know. Yeah. And I'm just talking about like uniform, like school dress code being like Nazi uniforms, and like, you know, like
you basically described authoritarianism.
Yeah, no, and like I wasn't wrong, but it's just time and a place, right? I was also 13. Yeah. And anyway, so we became very close after he saved my ass for that. And I remember he told me a story one time where he, because he would start pulling me out of class like once a day. Yeah. For like half an hour in like 5th period, just to like basically be a therapist. And he's from England originally. And he was teaching in like South London, like not the bad part of London, for a long time, for like 15 years. And he showed me one time, he has scars all on his chest and his forearms that he like hides usually. And he told me this story, and he said, kid, because he had a lot of gang members and whatever in the school. He walks in one day, kids in the hall fighting with brass knuckles, right? They're fighting, and then Buddy pulls a knife.
Mm-hmm.
So he takes the kid with the knife in a headlock and drags him into a classroom and locks the door.
Yeah.
But it's one of those like school doors with the big window.
Yeah.
Fucking guy with the brass knuckles punches the window and just shards of glass all over his chest and arms. And yeah. And then he tells this story to me, and this was after, or it may have been before, no, I think it was after the Nazi thing. But he tells me this story because they had like kicked me out of class for anytime I was sitting out in the hallway, he'd pick me up and be like, what did you do this time? And it was, I forget what it was, but it was something really dumb where they were just like getting mad at me for no reason. And because like at a certain point you have beef with the teachers.
Yeah.
And then it's like they just fucking anything you do, they're just like, get the fuck out of here, right?
Yeah.
So he tells me the story, and then he's like, and they're fucking mad about what you did. And he's like, these fucking Canadian teachers don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Like, he's like, half of these fucking people just get into this so they can boss around fucking kids, and they're just like have a stick up their ass, and they don't know real adversity.
Well, it's because they couldn't get a real job. So.
And then I'm like, thank you. That's what I've been saying.
I'm sorry, teachers.
You know?
Teachers have it hard, but I mean,
no, they don't. It's the fucking easiest job. You're a babysitter, glorified. You read out of a fucking book.
Unfortunately, that is how it's turned out. Yes.
What
I think when
before you come at me in the comments, both my parents are teachers. My grandfather was a teacher and a principal, and then superintendent of schools until he retired for 15 years. 3 of my uncles, 2 of my cousins, 1 of my aunts. I come from a long line of educators, so I've seen every side of it, and it's the easiest profession in the fucking world. Well, second easiest. Being a mom's the easiest.
Trying to get us canceled. I love it. I was gonna say, first thing I thought when you said the Nazism thing. As a teacher, I would have been like, oh, this is a teachable moment because this is your understanding of Nazism, and what you're perceiving is like an authoritarian structure, which is true. It's like, here's how they're different, here's how they're similar, and like you could talk about that, and you could come out of that and be like, oh, okay, that was actually pretty cool. My teacher to explain that, and you move on.
Yeah, but they were gonna kick me out of fucking school,
which is fucked. That's stupid. That's not teaching. I agree. That's
to be fair, this was like warning 160,
but still, that's
right?
Like you're forcing compliance from a kid who's like,
which was Nazism, is what I see. And then now as an adult, like who's now seen this kind of alt-right movement happen in Canada and America, it's like, this is exactly how that pipeline works, though. Yeah. Like, they're molding us, these children. Like, where do you think, like, I actually just quoted this because...
Well, this is that, you're literally describing the idea of, like, the nuclear family and just, like, a patriarchal structure of society, right? Like, you're molding...
Yeah, more or less. But it's more than that now.
It's even Christianity. Like, how Christianity says, like, God our Father.
Yeah.
That's a new idea. God has like traditionally been a motherly figure.
Sure.
God our Father, like a patriarchal structure, is like that was an innovation.
Yeah.
Which
I get like, I don't know. I just like I don't like to say things that conservatives agree with because I think they're all fucking dumb and crybabies. But when they're like, it's funny because they have, there's a Facebook page called like Conservatives Approaching the Point or something.
Yeah.
Where they're like, the one I always think of is when they're like, you're going to forgive student debt, or no, you're going to give fucking, you're going to pay for a trans person transitioning, but chemotherapy costs $80 million. Wake up, America, these fucking woke, and it's like, you were almost there.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, or it's like there was a billboard that said like, Narcan is free if you these junkies want to have an overdose, but my chemotherapy costs this much. It's like, you're so close.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, why does your chemotherapy cost that much? You don't have to disparage somebody else.
Yeah, Narcan's not the problem here. Your
It's
chemo
that
prices
they're-
are the problem.
But it's like, you're so fucking close, right? And then they just
Yeah.
go over the edge.
Yeah.
And I think we've talked about this with like Alex Jones before, where he's like says a bunch of shit you agree with, and you're like, yeah, and then he's like, but it was the Jews, and you're like, oh no, dude, like,
Well,
you
no,
were almost
Tucker.
there.
That's Tucker.
Okay, yeah.
He like makes a couple of good points, and then he like, and then he goes off.
So I guess that's what I'm trying to say with the school system is that a lot of a big thing right now is the critical race theory, and these teachers are going woke or whatever, and it's like the teachers, and it's not all their fault. I think the system is designed to keep people down, obviously, right? You want people smart enough to run the machines, but not smart enough to question why they're running them in the first place, right? And they say the revolution begins in the mind of a child, right? And you put them in these schools that don't foster that, right? They hammer you. So like, I agree with these people that they're like, all these fucking teachers are trying to mold, like the curriculums are molding these kids. I'm like, yeah, you're right. And they're like, to be fucking woke. And I'm like, no, like, you lost me. Like, you were so fucking close.
Have you heard of neoliberalism?
Yeah,
Look
like,
up. Or neoconservatism.
yeah, like it's just, you were so close and you fucking
Missed it.
I don't know. So I if it wasn't obvious, I didn't have a very good experience with school. You know what's funny is that people always ask me that as an entrepreneur, and especially as a young entrepreneur.
Yeah.
This happened more when I was like 18 years old and running a business. I would always get asked about how my time was in school. And I have really good experiences in school. Like, it's funny to say that because I was like, but I thought like this shit is funny.
Yeah.
Getting kicked out constantly and fucking like beefing with teachers. It's like, bro, it's 8 a.m. Like, how are you beefing with a 12-year-old? Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I always thought it was funny back then. And I thought it was like a challenge to see how much I could get away with, like how much I could push my luck, you know, without, and like the barbecue across from their barbecue thing. Like, those were like schemes. That wasn't just like random vandalism. Like, we were doing like well thought out schemes, right?
Yeah.
Like, and so I thought it was great. And like, I was just friends with everybody.
Yeah.
Like, I could just walk down the fucking hallways and just sit with different groups of people because I was just fucking friend. I was on good terms with everybody. So I had a great experience in school, which I think like is opposite of a lot of young entrepreneurs that like drop out of school, is that they hate it.
Right.
But I liked it, and the work
resent it.
The work was easy, so I just never did it because I didn't give a shit.
You didn't see any value in it.
Yeah. You know what's funny? I every so often, this probably happens to me twice a year. I have a nightmare. I'm not kidding. This is real. About going back to school. Like, I'll be like, I'm like trying to get a locker open. I don't remember my combination.
Nice.
And I like have a backpack on. I'm not kidding. Like, this is like, or like in my dreams, I'm like, holy shit, I have to go to school tomorrow and I'm stressing about this and like whatever. And I wake up and I'm like, oh, thank God. Like, but I don't know what that is. I don't know why that's in my subconscious. I don't know what my subconscious is trying to
tell you.
Trying to bring me back, but it's always my middle school.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. That's when everything started to go wrong, maybe, in my life. But it's always my middle school. My brother's always alive. My dreams are weird.
I think, not that people want to get into This Is My Dreams podcast, but I'm not going to tell you the story of any of my dreams, but whenever my life is going like poorly, I have these weird dreams of like a Hunger Games kind of situation, or like
that was just us on drugs the other day.
Yeah, or like Children of the Corn, whatever. Like, I'm in this weird situation, and it just for some reason turns into like gladiator games that expands out into like an entire city, or like you're in a school or you're in an apartment building, whatever, and it turns into gladiator games. And it's like, if my life is going really really well, and I'm like, something's happened and I feel like I'm killing it and things are going really well, I have this dream where I'm like, I'm what's his fucking name from Gladiator?
Maximus?
Yeah, a Maximus, and I'm like, are you not entertained? And I'm like just fucking murdering people with my samurai sword
Russell
or whatever
Crowe.
the fuck it is.
I don't think it was
Yeah.
a samurai sword.
Well, no, in my dreams it's
Oh,
either a
of course it
samurai
is.
sword or a flail or whatever. It's something weird. But last one was a samurai sword. And if my life's going really badly, it's one of those dreams where it's like you're swinging the weapon and it's like you're moving through molasses and you can just never swing it fast enough and you're trying to run and it's just like you can't move faster than a slow walk even though you're trying to run and just getting fucking obliterated and having a really bad time. And it's like it's this very specific type of dream. It's always a different setting. It's totally random. It's one of those like just, dream world where it's like you're riding a dune buggy over top. Now it's a golf cart and like everything's changing.
Yeah.
But it's always the same themes, and it's been really, and I haven't had one forever since my stress levels have dropped down to 0 getting into contracting. And yeah, no, it's really weird. I don't think dream analysis is a great place to go, but like something recurring and specific from middle school is like you wonder if there's something there.
Yeah, something I repressed or something.
Very specifically, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I've read a lot of dream analysis.
There's no signs.
No, there's no, and I know Freud's opinion on it, and like a lot of the subconscious is weird. Like it's just like it's your brain trying to process information, right? Like that's what you're.
Well, a lot of therapy. I'm gonna learn a lot about therapy in the next 2 years. So my girlfriend's starting a master's program in like less than a month, and one of the other things that I've learned is like what you think about therapy of like how you sit down and you talk about like your childhood trauma and all that stuff is like that's considered like that's all Freudian stuff in a sense. They're actually moving away from that in a big way, and especially now with kind of changing needs of people, now it's moving more towards like working in the moment and like dealing with actual stress that people have because they're realizing it's like, oh, you're not stressed or you don't have mental issue or like mental illness or, depression or whatever because your childhood was fucked up. Maybe your life is fucked up.
Yeah.
Maybe you're observing some existing stressors. And one of the most fascinating things that I've seen recently was like a paper that got published that is like SSRIs do nothing, like antidepressants, working with your dopamine, serotonin levels, that does nothing. You're treating the symptoms of an issue and not addressing any of the things that happen. So somebody that's like not making enough money to live, not realizing their goals, is in a shitload of debt, maybe has family troubles,
Throwing
maybe
them
is
on
like
drugs isn't going to help.
Right, like
the problem.
The world is ending, climate change is happening. There's nothing you can do to change it. Politics is fucked. All the mechanisms of peace, control, and equality are broken, and it's probably because your mom yelled at you. It's like, no,
you can't boil
I got
down.
enough these things are real. Like, you have to validate that and understand it and deal with it. And, like, what are coping mechanisms for the fact that the world is ending?
Yeah.
Like, how do you deal with that? And it's like, I like that therapy is evolving, but, yeah, there's so many bad therapists out there, so many bad solutions, so much bad fucking advice, which is why one of my, I'm gonna plug it just because I think it's amazing. Favorite Instagram pages, if you just want to like laugh at the absurdity of shit that you see on Instagram. It's basically like a mockery of the hustle and entrepreneurship culture. It's called Entrepreneur. So
we're big fans of the Alcohol Beyond This Point podcast.
Yeah, Entrepreneur page, fucking amazing. Yeah, it'll just like kind of bring shit to light and realize that like, I don't know, starting like a hustle culture podcast or anything that I see in that nature, it just makes me want to cry and vomit.
Because this is a business podcast, but we get down to the actual business called roots.
And we talk about running businesses. Like, we used to talk about how many hours we work, but like now it's not like a badge of pride. It's like, fuck, I'm tired.
Yeah, I'm stressed out.
Yeah.
Next time we talk, it'll be after the harvest, and hopefully I'll be a little bit less stressed out.
Yeah, I mean, every year a little better, a little wiser, a lot wiser, and things just get easier. In a sense, we just get better at handling it. At least, I don't know. We're getting pretty good at business at this point.
Unfortunately. I wish I could make enough money that it looks like I'm good at business.
Yeah, today the fun moment with this client was I hadn't met him yet, but it was my business partner Bretton who like did the initial sales meeting, quote and whatever, all the conversations, and he shows up and it's just me, this yuppie looking kid, just working in the garage, and my helper for the day, who's like 15 years older than I am, looks like he could be in charge, but he's like kind of a little bit like he doesn't dress up nice, whatever, he doesn't put himself together. He doesn't give a fuck. Like he's like, I'm just here to work. And he's got like a big bushy beard, wears a cap and sunglasses. And so he walks right past us to go into his house, and he's like, is the boss upstairs? And I'm like, no, just us. And he's like, oh. And I'm like, oh, what do you need? He's like, oh, well, I got like some stuff I gotta go. I'm like, well, I'm the boss. I'm like, I'm running this project. He's like, oh. And I walk upstairs with him and deal with it, and then like get into this whole conversation that I just kind of went over, talking about his business, and I was like asking him smart questions like, oh, what are your production numbers, like what is your monthly turn, like I just really asked him some probing questions, but the guy did not take me fucking seriously. It was really funny initially. After that he did, but it's like I'm right on the cusp of like looking old enough to be in charge of things. It's pretty good.
You need some more wrinkles.
But it's really stupid because in trades, I'm like, yeah, I'm 27 and I'm a top price guy in the city for this thing. And they're like, they kind of seem surprised because they think that I should be like some 40-year-old Italian guy. But I just feel like saying sometimes, I'm like, there's people doing like surgery at my age.
Yeah, that's
like,
fair, yeah.
This is not a high bar. I don't know why you think that I need to be older to be doing this well.
Yeah.
Like, this is not that high of a bar. There's harder things out there to do that people younger than me are doing.
Yeah.
And it's, I don't know, I just find it really funny when people don't take me seriously just because of my age. And I'm like, how long does it realistically take to be really good at this? And I'm like, it's not as long as you think.
I'm getting a little bit of gray now, so
oof,
just on the side of my head. So I'll stop getting the you're just a kid, you don't know what you're talking about.
That's self-inflicted though.
Yeah, 8 years of running a business full time.
And
wow.
Your business partner. Wow, what a stress.
Wow. Anyway, we'll transition here into the last segment that we call Tip of the Morning, where Tyler and I give you a tip that business or life that we are currently going through in life or business. And I have a tip because number one, I'm severely behind editing these podcasts. That's notwithstanding, but we've probably missed 2 of these in the last like month, right? And I always preach, like, one of my biggest mantras, you probably already know if you're a listener of this podcast, is like, show up every single day and do it every single day, right?
Yeah.
And we also have a weekly mastermind call that this is the second week in a row we've missed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is a lot for us.
Yeah. So I'm kind of like, I was like stressing this morning where I'm like, we've missed fucking all of it. It's like my life's falling apart. All my fucking shit's like, I try to make these commitments where it's like, show up and do it. But my advice to myself, or let's say my cope to myself, I think can be advice to you, the listener, where it's like, you don't have to beat yourself up that hard for like missing, because like me doing 2 podcasts this month instead of 4 is still 2 podcasts more than most people are doing.
Yeah.
And
Especially when it's hard. It's a lot.
When especially like this time of year, like, I like to be able to make time for my commitments no matter what, but it's like literally like 2 weeks ago you canceled, but like last week I think it was the first time I've ever canceled, maybe one other time, but like,
yeah.
And it was just because I literally was still trying to hit this deadline. It was like I literally did not have any time.
Yeah.
Like, and then I ended up working till like 11 p.m. that day. So yeah, I mean like my cope was like, you know what, doing 2 podcasts, doing 2 masterminds in the last like 30 days is still a significant progress, even though it's like seems in my head like 1 step forward, 2 steps back. It's more like 2 steps forward and 1 step back. So I'm still making progress.
You gotta just forgive. That's a big thing. You gotta be able to forgive yourself for imperfections or missing the mark sometimes. Like that's really destructive if you can't if you can't forgive yourself for that shit, if you can't just deal with it, because it's a fact of life. Like you said before, sometimes you just fail. Sometimes you just can't. Sometimes you're just overloaded. Sometimes you're just too tired. And you actually can't go on. You actually can't do the thing. You don't have to add insult to injury by beating yourself up for it.
I just have that habit of being very hard on myself. So
a lot of high achievers, they fucking hurt themselves if they don't achieve what they're supposed to achieve. When in reality, the actual penalty of not doing that thing is less than the damage you inflict on yourself.
Well, I was like, literally, I was gonna say going into hysterics, but that's
I would love to see
that's
that.
being exaggerated.
You're quite stoic. I can't imagine. Willow's running around the house pulling on his hair.
I was like, we're doing so much less than we were doing last summer in sales, so it's like I don't know how I'm gonna fucking sell. I don't know how I'm gonna support my winter, my slow season, because we're not saving any fucking money. And then I was like stressing about it, and I'm like, fuck, like I wonder how far under we are, like how much of a difference do we need to make up? And I opened my books, and I'm beating every single month this summer than last year. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like numbers don't lie, right? Like, but it feels like I'm doing less, but I guess maybe I just moved my bar. But like, numbers don't lie, right? Like, it's just, I looked at my books, and we are doing
fine.
May through August, which is my busiest month. We're all 5 to 15% higher than 2021.
Strange.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. Where's my fucking money go? That's what I want to know. It's just like,
where's my money?
How do I fucking? Yeah, I don't know. Like, we did like $400,000 last fiscal. We had $0 in the bank after the fiscal, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, but then we do the books, and it's like, oh, you profited, 35 grand. It's like, wow. It's like, wait, where's that money? Like, where is any like? I have $0 all the time.
Yeah, accounting really makes you question everything.
It's like, is someone stealing from me?
Yeah.
No, I think I'm just spending too. Like, yeah, but then I do it's like, oh yeah, but then I just bought a $200,000 piece of equipment. Oh yeah, right. Like,
yeah, you can find where the money went, but it just doesn't ever feel like the numbers look.
Yeah, which sucks, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Well, this summer I had more employees than I'd ever had before, so that's more wages than ever before, more etc. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, and I was discussing this with Branton the other day. He was like, we're talking about hitting the 7-figure mark and a net margin that we want to target. And he's like, I can't imagine someone giving me like $86,000 a month to just like do this job. He's like, well, to be fair, we're already doing most of that. He's like, it just doesn't feel that way.
Yeah.
Because we're like 70-80% of the way there, but it's like, it doesn't fucking feel like it. It's like, and then when you think about it, like, wow, $1 million a year, that's insane. It's like, that's so high. It's like, it's only a marginally higher than you're already doing.
Yeah.
And it's I don't know, it feels really, I don't know, like, accounting's fucked. And that's why when people set like hard numbers as goals, like, it's nice, it's a good idea to do, it's a good idea to have benchmarks, but it can't be an absolute, because what that feels like, it probably isn't going to make any difference in your life to begin with. Like, it's good to have growth, but it's like, it's not about growing the numbers. It's about like growing your business. It's about producing more and better product. It's about innovating. It's about hiring more people, creating more jobs, and then creating a better workplace. Like, focus on all those fucking things. Stop working on your numbers and your hustle fucking apps.
We're going to make that your tip of the week, or what?
No.
Okay.
Mine is very short and sweet, though.
Okay.
Kind of dovetail to yours. Always show up. Mine is, I've been told I'm very good at training new people, and this is like people that are either cold to the trade or people that are transitioning into the trade, or already in it, and now I'm trying to make them better. So my training tip, or my employer tip, is like, not just show up every day, but the things that your business does really well, the things that most people would kind of find hard and difficult or annoying or whatever, that just don't get done, find the positive in all those things. And for me, I don't really have to work hard for this. I just find a lot of fulfillment in just doing my job really well. Fuck me, right? And
yeah, you're the only one.
when people are like, oh fuck, we got to do this thing, it's gonna be really hard, it's gonna be really, really difficult, and I'm like, yeah, that's fucking great, let's do it. I'm like, I'm excited for it, and I'm optimistic, and I'm always pushing, and I'm like, oh yeah, we get to do this. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be great, this is gonna be fun, we got this project coming up, it's like it's super tricky, like it'll be sweet. And I always kind of have this optimism all the time, and I find that if you're pushing that narrative, nobody's really wants to be the naysayer and be like, oh no, this is gonna suck. Like, they may be thinking it, but they're not going to say it. And they may then, when they get into it and you're like, oh yeah, that was amazing. Great day. Great job. Great day, guys. No one's going to be like, oh, that sucked. And no one's going to like come out and say that. And you keep that attitude and that kind of environment going long enough, people will start to say the same things. People will start to parrot that same idea and mimic that. And if you can get people being excited and happy to produce really good shit better than everybody else and pull off stuff that's really difficult, you just crack the code on making more money. Like, yeah, I don't know, it's worked really well for us so far, and yeah, hopefully I can continue to scale it. But yeah, it's been a big eye-opener as compared to work here, because the culture is great, and having to sell people that idea versus actually fucking doing it. So just do it.
Nike is the sponsor of this
Fuck
Alcohol Beyond
Nike.
This Point, episode 85. Thank you for listening. Alcohol Beyond This Point on Instagram or whatever. We have a link tree. Just Google it. Goodbye.
Alcohol Beyond This Point podcast.
This isn't two podcasters talking business. This is two business guys trying to podcast.